All right, guys. Hey, it's Ron McKeefery here, and real excited to go over basic resume building techniques with you guys. As a director of strength and conditioning, I hire people quite a bit, and one of the things that I've seen year in and year out is just a lack of any really good strength and conditioning resumes. And I say strength and conditioning resumes because there's a difference between uh, a college resume. There's a difference between a professional business resume, and then there's a strength and conditioning resume. And what we're going to talk about today is kind of building that resume. And the first thing I'll tell you is that you're never going to get hired just simply off of a resume. In the modules that are to come, we'll talk a lot about networking. We'll talk a lot about making sure that you're prepared for a position. But when it really comes down to it, you're not going to get hired just off a resume. However, a bad resume could definitely hurt you. And so in Strength Coach Basic Training, we're going to start off with just talking about putting together a good, strong strength and conditioning resume so you know exactly where you're at. And, it's really difficult when you're first starting off. I started off out of college at a small school in Kansas called Ottawa University. No strength coach, no real organized strength program outside of just what our football coaches did and where I played. And, trying to learn these things without really a whole lot of guidance. And fortunately, I was able to get along with some great teachers and go through some really good experiences. And in that time, get to the position that I'm in and be able to look at these resumes. And so what's really neat is that year in and year out, I've been able to look at resumes and see what's worked, what's caught my attention as a potential employer, the techniques that are used to catch my attention, and then take those and kind of and make a great strength and conditioning resume. And so in this presentation, I'm going to go over my resume. You'll be able to see exactly how I set mine up. I'm also going to use some of our interns as examples of when they first got their resumes to me, and just kind of show you some of the mistakes that they made, at least in my opinion. And this is all just my opinion. Like I said, my last position that I had open, I received over 400 resumes, and so when I did that and going through those, and I'm one of the few strength coaches that'll actually go through those, and when I have postings, I have to go through and write a sentence to a paragraph on why I didn't hire each person. So I actually do go through them, and so these have been the techniques that I'm going to go over with you. I think would benefit you most in your search for a position. So Strength Coach Basic Training. I'm going to go over basically just briefly, I'm going to go over the cover letter and references, but spend most of the time on the resume. We'll come back and touch those things as we go about. In the cover letter, you have your application materials, and most jobs when they're posted, they'll tell you to send a cover letter, a resume, and references. And so that's what I call your application materials, okay? And so with your cover letter, one of the biggest myths out there is that you need to have this big, long, drawn-out cover letter and telling your whole life story. And I can tell you as a potential employer that I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the cover letter. I'll be honest with you. It's just the first sheet. A lot of times I don't even print it off just because, when I'm printing off 400 resumes, the last thing I want to do is add an extra couple pages to that. I'm cutting down trees as it is. And so very important that that your cover letter be brief. And for me to read that, it's got to be brief, and it's got to be strong, and it's got to state exactly what you want. When I'm hiring people, I'm hiring for lots of different positions. I'm hiring for internships. I'm hiring for coaching assistants. I'm hiring assistants. And sometimes, I sit on other search committees for hiring sport coaches and other departments in the university. And so I could be getting, the perfect storm and be hiring for all those positions at once and not knowing exactly what somebody is applying for. So in that, the very first thing you need to do is you need to state what you want. What do you want? Do you want to be an assistant strength coach? Do you want to be do you want the coaching assistant position? Do you want the internship position? Be very, come right on out. I'm writing you to express my interest in the University of assistant strength coach position. The next question you need to ask yourself is why you qualify to do it. I have my degrees in X, Y, and Z, and I've it kind of goes into the next question is where you've done it. And I've been able to do this. I've worked at the collegiate, high school, professional level, whatever it's been, for X number of years. And so what do you want? Why are you qualified to do it? And where have you done it? Lastly, some of you, especially if you're sitting in on this, you haven't really gotten to a position where you've received a lot of accolades for your work yet, but you can still talk about a brief reference statement. Coach McKeefery has said that I've been one of the better interns to ever come through his internship class. My football coach has said that I'm very passionate and that I would do very, very well at this position. Or, I won the internship award of the year. Whatever it may be, but, how well have you done it? So, just to summarize, what do you want? Why are you qualified to do it? Where have you done it? And how well have you done it? What that's not is simply, how passionate you are about strength and conditioning, how much you love sport, all those types of things. Those things, they need to be reserved for the interview process, and in that phone conversation. That's where you really show your passion. Is when they actually talk to you. Here you're just kind of stating your case, and I know I'm assuming that if you apply for our positions, that you are passionate and that you do have a love for sport and that you maybe even done it well at a certain as an athlete or this, that, and the other. But what I don't have time to read 5-6 paragraphs about with your life story. I like to say leave a little bit up to the imagination, and intrigue. Get me intrigued. I've done it at the professional, the collegiate level. Well, okay, what professional team, what collegiate team? Make me want to turn the resume over and look at your resume. What you don't want to do is restate your entire resume in your cover letter. There's no point for the resume then. Okay, in the resume, at the very top of your resume is your contact information. That should be the very first thing that hits you. And a lot of people, take a lot of, do this a lot of different ways. And if you use a lot of these resume templates, in my opinion, they don't do a great job. But what that needs to do is very quickly convey to the person who you are and what's the best way to get in touch with you. Like I said, when I got 400 plus resumes and I'm hiring somebody and I've just worked a 12, 13, 14-hour day, and I'm coming home and I'm going through resumes and I want to call somebody or email them or get a hold of them somehow, some way, I want to get a hold of them right then and there, and I want that information. And that may be, if I can't get a hold of you right then and there, that may be a reason to take you from that 400 pile and put you in the, I'm done with you pile. So with that contact information, you need to make sure you have first your common name and credentials. Last thing I want to do is when I call you, and my first name is Ronald. I go by Ron or Ronnie, and strength coach, Mark Asanovich, one of my former bosses, calls me up and says, "Ronald, how you doing? Coach, it's Ron, or Coach, it's Ronnie." The very first thing I don't want to correct that person. I don't, when I call you, I don't want to be corrected right away. When that's not the first impression that I want to have of you. So I would make sure that you put your common name and your credentials. And I'm going to show you some examples here of, like I said, my resume and the others' resumes. Some of our this last internship class. But with having your credentials on there right away, I know pretty quickly whether or not you may be qualified for our position, or if I even can go further in the process. Next, you want to have your address. I may not, a lot of times you have to send out diversity questionnaires or follow-up information, and I need to have that information. So you're permanent and you're current. If you're a student right now, have both your parents' information and where you're currently at. Maybe I'm trying to get a hold of you in the summer and you're not home. You're back home with your parents. I need to have both that. Your telephone number, I need to have as many numbers as I need to get a hold of you. If you're in the dorm room, if you're you got your cell phone, and if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend's place, whatever it may be, when I want to get a hold of you, I want to get a hold of you, and you need to go ahead and tell me what those numbers are. If it's a home number, if it's a cell, just put parentheses H or C, whatever it may be, and then your email. You need to establish a generic email. One of the biggest turnoffs right away is when I get a resume that's got, it might even be a great resume. I've had some really, really good resumes. And then all of a sudden I go to email them or get more information, and it's Pimp Daddy or it's Pimp Daddy 23 or Baller 45 at, whatever, the best thing you can do is get on a Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail, whatever it may be, and just create, just your name at gmail.com or, something very, very generic that right away I know who it is, so that way when you respond, I know exactly who it is. And it's not something that's going to turn me off right away. And, because, when I get something like that, generic, Baller 24 or whatever, then I'm thinking you're not ready to be a professional yet, that you're still a kid. And very important that's one of the things. So let me show you something real quick here. I'm going to kind of stay in this format from now on because I want to be able to flip through. But first up, on the right here, you got my resume, and I just pulled this up. It's been a while since I've even played with this, but you can see right away on the very top, for the most part, it's in the header. Now I've had to, my resume is 2 pages. One of the things we'll get into is that you're right now, if you're in the strength coach basic training, more than likely your resume is a 1-page resume. That's about the amount of experience that you have. But your information needs to be basically in the header of the file. And you can see that on mine, out of the 2 pages, if for some reason you do go over 2 pages, it needs to be on both pages. When I print resumes out, and I'm printing out 400 plus, it's not uncommon for me to print that out and that there be a paper jam, or I come home and spread it out across the floor, and my dog comes up and knocks papers around, and if I can't piece that back up together, a lot of times I just throw stuff away, and I don't go looking to try to make it right even. The next thing you can see is right away, I have my cell phone, I have my email, I have my address, and I have my credentials. I have a master's degree, I have CSCS, I have the SECC. Those are the most important because those are the ones that I need to know whether or not I can hire you with. Now, if you look at, we're going to pull up Josh's here. You can look at Josh. Josh is okay here, but look how much room he's taken up for his contact information. Now he does have it on 2 pages, which is good, but where's the credentials? You look at Garth's. Again, no credentials. Now he did a pretty good job here, but now Garth, I'm going to rip on Garth here. Garth missed our resume presentation. He came in late. He got in late from Ohio on our intern class, and he missed his presentation. So I'm going to email this to him when I'm done with it. But you can look at Garth. Garth's resume is 3 pages, and he's doing an internship. So there's definitely some things that we can cut out of this, but no credentials. Look at Jen's. Jen's no credentials. Look at Kyle's. Kyle has no credentials. So right away I'm having to dig. It's just an extra step on my part to dig and look. Now, Kyle did a really good job with he's got his permanent address. He's got his present address. So he lives in Ohio. He's going to school. He's finishing up in Michigan. So you can see right away that just the different examples there on some of the intern resumes. But again, contact information, common name with credentials, your address, your telephone number, email, and make that take up as least amount of room as possible with maximizing your name, so that right away I can see and pick you out of a crowd. All right, from contact information. Next, you want to always have an objective. Again, if I don't print out your cover letter, I need to know what position you want. And now, again, a lot of people take this as an opportunity to put out a long-winded, I'm going to save the world and kiss crying babies and do all those types of things, and they list this big, huge objective. When I just need to know, this is actually, Kyle did a really good job to obtain an intern position as a strength and conditioning coach. Very good. No objective here. Don't know what position you want, Garth. You can look at Josh's. No objective. Look at Jen's. No objective. So you can, mine, last resume I filled out was for this award that I was up for. So, very clear objective needs to be very brief and the exact position you're applying for. I'm applying for the assistant strength coach at the University of Florida, University at Notre Dame, or whatever it may be. But it just needs to be a one-page thing, clearly marked objective. Okay, education needs to come next. Now, I'm putting these in the order in which I look at a resume. When I look at a resume, I need to know some very important information. For me to hire you, period, you have to have a bachelor's degree. If you do not have a bachelor's degree, I cannot hire you. NCAA won't allow it. So, I'm looking for some specific information here. I'm looking for what, a bachelor of whatever. And typically, for me, I'm looking for somebody that's got an exercise science related degree. Now, you look at my resume here. I have 2 bachelor's degrees. I have one in biology and one in physical education. I was a distinguished graduate. We'll talk about that, but I got it in 1998. And then I did my master's degree here at USF. Now, I got hired here as a head strength coach without a master's degree. I think I value education extremely amount. You can see right away that I'm taking courses towards my PhD. Not too far away from finishing that. I value education. However, for strength and conditioning, I value the experience every bit as much as I do the education. And so we'll talk more about that as we go along in this series. But if you, right away, again, you name contact information, your objective, what needs to become next is education, the format. This is the best format that I think, without taking up a lot of room, needs to be the university or college that you went to, and then the location. I always use like Loyola College as an example. And there's 3 different Loyola colleges. I know if you are in California or Chicago, I don't know anybody there. If you're at the Loyola College in Baltimore, I know somebody there. And it stands out to me. So I want to know where you're at. Ottawa University. A lot of people think I went to school up in Canada. It was actually Ottawa, Kansas. It was Ottawa Indian tribe. So it just kind of gives me a little bit more information, maybe where you're from or where you're located. Then the degree. So you can see Master of Arts in Adult Education, or Bachelor's of Arts in Physical Education. And then the date completed, and that's it. That's all that really needs to be there. Now, as a resume builder, I'm going to give you kind of some things there. If you were an exercise science related degree, I'd definitely list that. The next thing is that I limit to 1 bullet point in your education, and just kind of put the highest accolade that you might have had. You might have been. I think if you look at like Jen was a 4.0 student at the University of Miami right now. That's great. I mean, 4.0, that stands out. Now, if you're a 2.0 student, I wouldn't list your GPA. You know, but she's got all kinds of honors. She was probably science club, whatever, strength coach, officer, all these member of bodybuilding society, all these different things that are associated with school. She wants to put the highest thing that was there. So like for mine, you saw I was a distinguished graduate. Um, that now I got a lot. I was exercise science student of the year. Well, I could have put exercise science student of the year or distinguished graduate. They try to put the highest one. So just one bullet there. Most of you just have your bachelor's degrees right now. So that just needs to be, you can see right away, if you take my resume and you just take just a bachelor's degree, that takes up almost as much, three things there as a lot of these guys is, look at how much room Garth, or let's see, some of these guys' resumes take up a lot just to list out where they're at. Jen's almost takes up a third of her page just for education. So, resume, you need to have contact information, objective, and then education. Very important. And I need to know right away. Now this tells me right away that you've got your degree. I can hire you. Next, very important, certifications. Again, if you don't have your CSCS or your SCCC, I can't hire you. I have to have a certified strength coach with department-wide duties. And so this is where I was kind of getting in, with the credentials at the beginning. Right away, if you list, you go back to my resume, I got 400 resumes I'm looking at. Right away, you can look at just the first line on my resume, master's degree and 2 certifications. I can hire this person. And I don't have to go any further. So that, when I'm going through 400 resumes, that may go in the keep pile to get a second look. If I'm going down, I can't find your education or your certifications, then you might go on the other pile right away. And maybe it's just an oversight on your part and you didn't list it. But very important that certifications come next. And again, you can look at where it comes online. So format, you want to list the organization and then the certification held. So if you look at mine, National Strength and Conditioning Association, and then the 2, I hold 2 certifications from them, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist with distinction, and then the Coach Practitioner certification. So I hold 2. So I just listed them there, but I bolded the organization. And then you can see one other thing that I did with mine is I went ahead and listed my membership number and my certificate number. Those are important because HR is going to ask for those at some point. So it just takes one extra step out. And this actually came from looking at resumes, and somebody did that, and I thought it was a good idea. So I went back and put it on mine quite some time ago. Now, resume builders for this, certifications. Again, some of you guys are still in undergrad. You want to go ahead and list the ones that you're going to need. NSCA, College Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association. You're going to need those 2. So what you want to do is you want to list them, and then off to the side you want to put pending, parentheses pending, whenever you plan on taking it. So whenever your senior year is, and you're going to finish your class in May, pending May 2011 or 2012 or whatever it may be. You want to put that in, and I don't think it's being misleading, but you're going ahead and you're earmarking a spot in your resume for where that's going to go because you know that you need to have it. So some places, as a student or the GA, they can hire you knowing that you're going to be working towards those things. So important that you list those. So for mine, you can see NSCA, the College Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association, United States Weightlifting Federation, American Heart Association. Another possible one is USA Track and Field, National Academy of Sports Medicine, American College of Sports Medicine. The Red Cross or the CPR First Aid one is nice because as a GA, that's just one less thing that I need to do to bring you on. If I don't have to get you certified in that, then it just makes it a lot easier for me. And a lot of times it's hiring. I'm training a team, getting a team ready, and I got to make sure, it's a last minute thing. I'm getting somebody in pretty quick and got to get them going and get them right with their teams, and got about a million other things going on at the same time. So all these certifications, any of these certifications are great. Now, if you're a certified personal trainer, or you got all these different, if I look at like Jen's, I think Jen has, she has some, she's USAW, but she's an AFI personal trainer. Those are good. If those are the only things that you got right now, list them. But just understand that you're buying lines on your resume, and as lines, as better experience comes on, you want to pull those types of things off. And you can be certified personal trainer in about 1,000 different organizations even before you graduate, or you don't even have to go to college. But obviously, I need to hire professionals. So these are the ones that I would suggest that you work towards. USAW, USA Track and Field, American Red Cross. You can get all those without graduating. So if you're looking for something, get those. If you've already graduated, work on your NSCA or your CSCCA right away, and don't waste your money on the other ones until you can get those too. Okay, after certifications comes coaching experience, and you see that I listed coaching experience, not related experience or just experience, And so what happens here a lot of times is people list every possible job they've ever had, and I'm going to pick on Kyle here a little bit. But you look at Kyle. Kyle, has a pretty good resume. He's down to one page, and he's a student, so he's not going to have a lot of experience, and he hasn't even listed. This is before he came down here, so he doesn't have our experience on here yet. But you look at his work experience, where it would fall, and the top job is ice cream selector at Baskin Robbins and a Meyer, whatever that is. That doesn't scream strength and conditioning coach to me. Then you look at dining. It was a dining hall general worker. There's no strength and conditioning experience there. And so with that, it's not even really worth listing. Now, one of the things I really encourage you to do is to keep a master resume with all your experience and list it in chronological order. So that way, two things. You have just kind of a master resume going that just kind of gives you everything, because you never know. Some people might not like the way I do this and require it a different way. I know if you apply for a military job, military strength and conditioning coach, they want everything. But you want to keep that, and you also, this is a tough profession. Now, I'm not going to make any bones about it, and so, just having that so that you can use some of this other experience possibly in another avenue would be good. So, but like Kyle now has quite a bit of experience by being down here, but at the same time, this doesn't scream strength and conditioning coach. This isn't going to get you a GA job right off the bat. So, and then you want to list coaching experience. So, if you don't have coaching experience, strength and conditioning experience, then you need to go get some. That could be at your local high school. That could be at your local college. Anything you can do to get some good experience and just basically state as your position that you're a volunteer strength coach, or you're an assistant strength coach at so-and-so high school, or whatever it may be. Very important that you're working with teams. Very important that you're working with athletes in that setting. Now, you can go and list all your different performance enhancement facilities, velocities, and APIs, and all these different places. But when I'm hiring somebody, I'm looking for somebody that's got experience working with teams, that's been a strength coach. So you want to make sure that this coaching experience is coaching experience. Now, you can list, say you're a high school football coach or a high school volleyball coach or whatever it may be. You can list that, but the question is this is one of the things that almost hurt me early on. Is I stayed on and I coached a year of football where I played, and then when I applied for the job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, They thought that maybe I wanted to be a football coach, and I was just trying to use the weight room to get in there. So sometimes that can come back to haunt you. So I usually list that experience under related experience. We'll talk about that in a minute. But now the format for your coaching experience is, first you want to really, want to put in bold, the position that you hold, Then you want to put the organization, the dates that you were there, the supervisor, and then any bullets that you want to put into that. Now I tell you again, 3 bullets maximum. 3 bullets maximum. If you're an assistant strength coach, I don't need you to insult my intelligence and tell me that you helped design programs and you did all this type of stuff. I know what an assistant strength coach does most times, and if I don't know what you did specifically there, I'm going to ask you about it in a interview. So I don't need a whole, again, synopsis. I don't need you to sell me on what you did at whatever university or whatever school you're at. So if you look at mine, let's just go down here to this experience here. I was a head strength coach over in NFL Europe. This kind of gives you the basic setup. I was a head strength and conditioning coach, highlighted and bolded. Okay, that was the position I held. Where did I do it? Berlin Thunder, NFL Europe. That was the organization. When did I do it? March 2000 and June 2000. Who was my supervisor? Peter Voss. He was the head football coach. Breaking this down, it shows the positions that you've held. You look at mine: intern strength coach, Kansas City Royals; part-time assistant, Tampa Bay Buccaneers; head strength coach, NFL Europe; head strength coach, University of South Florida. Again, it kind of shows a chronological order there, and it shows all strength and conditioning experience. But and it shows the different organizations. It looks pretty strong. Major League Baseball, National Football League, NFL Europe, Division I football. All pretty good stuff. Show the dates. That's showing kind of my chronological order there. When did I do it? I met it, as a coach in the coaching community, a small community, I may know somebody that was on this team, that I could call. And then the supervisor, you like take Peter Voss here. Peter Voss was the head football coach there, but he's not there now. Now, so when I list him on my references as a coach at Notre Dame, or he's actually here at University of South Florida now. People can make that connection. Okay, why are you listing the quarterback coach at the University of South Florida? Well, he was my boss as the head football coach at NFL Europe at the time. And then he had bullets. So for like me, you look, I just have one bullet here with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We went to an NFC Championship game that year. That was a pretty significant thing. So I put a bullet there. I put a bullet under South Florida. And here I broke my own rule a little bit, but in the college community, bowl games kind of carry a lot of weight. So I listed all the different bowls we went to, and then in 2008 I was a college strength coach of the year. So I felt like that was something I needed to list. If you look at South Florida's experience here for me, after NFL Europe, I got hired on as an assistant at South Florida for a year. And so a lot of you guys have maybe held several different positions at the same place. And what I really, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I really dislike it when, I have, intern strength coach, University of Duke, weight room assistant, University of Duke, personal trainer at the rec center, Duke University. I got 3 different examples of you being at the same spot. If that's the case, list your title, or put, dates like this. I was assistant strength coach from this date to this date, but currently I'm the head strength coach. And then I received a promotion a few years back to assistant athletic director. So, I listed both of those. Resume builders, you want to include any internships, any volunteer opportunities, any camps where maybe you were a strength coach, So those would be things that you'd be looking at right now to try to fill that coaching experience if you don't have any. To follow that up now, you want to look at related experience, all right? So if we go down to mine and we look at related experience now, some of these things are applicable and could be under coaching experience, but for me, I put them under related experience. So, I'm the state director for the NSCA. That was related experience. I worked as a head strength coach for an all-star game, a college all-star game, and then I was an assistant defensive back coach, and then I helped in the weight room. I wanted to make sure that I showed that I was working in the weight room for a year after I played. So that was a related experience for me. And the format basically is still the same as the coaching experience, but now I list the position, I list where the organization, the years I did it, who the supervisor was, but I wanted to list it separately so that they understand that strength coach is what I want to be, what I want to do. So, resume builders would be any non-strength and conditioning coaching experience. So, I worked with the youth football team. I volunteered for, whatever. A baseball umpire, whatever that may be. Maybe if it's sports related, it shows that you have a passion for sport, then that's where that would go. And just understand again, as you're trying to condense this down to one page, just make it be one bullet or one experience, or maybe you just do away with related experience altogether if you don't have any until you do. So, related experience, just kind of know the difference between coaching experience and related experience. All right, next comes speaking engagements. Now, this is something that most times, right now, you probably had 0 speaking engagements, but it shows professionalism when you're getting out. It shows you credibility. It shows, you separating yourself and starting to become a content expert. If you start speaking on strength and conditioning, now, early on in your career, it's not going to be anything. I'll kind of go down to resume builders. Right now, you should be looking at going to your local high schools, going and speaking at different college courses that you're at, maybe different youth leagues, and again, it doesn't need to be as long as mine here, and this isn't even all my experiences, but what it just needs to show that you're doing stuff that, from a credibility, from a professionalism standpoint, so this could be, the format needs to be the organization, the year, and the title. So it could be, North Kansas City High School, 2010 off-season strength and conditioning principles. All right, now that sounds pretty professional, but that could be your high school. That was my high school that I went to. I just called the coach up and said if I go, and I could go and just give a presentation, and may have been 5 kids. I don't know, but it could have, but it looks pretty professional. And then as things come, so like, here, I just got done speaking, here I spoke at the National Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association Sports Specific Conference, the big conference in January. Pretty good one. If I'm trying to take things out, maybe I take out this German National Coaches Lecture Series and make sure that I add that one in if I have to start worrying about room. So, again, the format, organization, NSCA or Loyola College or whatever it may be, the conference, the year, and then your title. After speaking engagements, you want to get into publications. And again, how you list that is the publication. So you look at mine, American Football Monthly, and then the title. Now for both of these, I wrote a series of articles. So I put, the Strength Report was the title. I wrote 9 total articles for that in 2008, and I put the year, and again, you go to resume builders. This could be websites. If you go and give you an example, and this is something that I'm gonna we'll talk about later. But if you go to my website for my business, this could be just writing a blog article for my website, about whatever, 5 strength and conditioning topics or 5 things firefighters need to understand about strength and conditioning, and write a blog about. And then you would come back and you would put that, the Athletic U, 5 things that firefighters need to know about strength and conditioning, and then 2010. And you would have a publication, Now, again, if they do some research on that, they understand that the Athletic U isn't a peer-reviewed, um, scientific journal, but at least you're listening to something and it's showing that you are professional. Professional strength coaches, they write, they speak, and they have great experience. The sooner that you start to show that, or at least the initiative to have that, the better off you're going to be. So there's lots of different websites out there, and with the web, you can get something published even a couple different places pretty easily. But the Athletic U is just one that you could go to right away. Okay. Next comes athletic experience. And now this is very important. I mean, when you're hiring for sport, you're hiring a strength coach, I look for a lot of intangibles. And one of the intangibles I look for right away is athletic experience. I want somebody that's gone through what we're putting our athletes through and understand that. Last thing I need is somebody that's never gone through it, screaming and yelling and getting after a kid and never have been in that position where you're hunched over a trash can, throwing up your guts, and and just not knowing how you can handle another rep. Let alone go to class, go to treatment, go study film, do all the things you need to do to be an athlete at the collegiate level, the professional level. So I look for that. And if you have been an athlete, better yet, if you've not been an athlete, that's just a roadblock you have to overcome. Can't say you can't be a strength coach. Can't say you can't be the best strength coach. But if you've been an athlete, you're going to have the upper hand in a lot of situations, and you really need to highlight that experience. And so if you look at mine, format needs to be organization and sport, the years you did it, the head coach's name, and then any specific honors you received. Okay, so again, for me, Ottawa University football, 1994 to 1997. The head coach was Chris Creighton. Again, I may know that if I'm in the coaching community, I may know Chris Creighton. He was, right now he's the head football coach at Drake. So I might know him. And then any bullets that you want to put. So again, I put the Wheat Bowl down because bowl games are carry weight in the college community. And then I was an all-conference free safety there. And I also did track, so I listed that as well. And I was an all-conference in javelin. I listed it the exact same way. Again, you want to highlight that as much as possible. And you want to, if you're, right now with most of you where you're an intern, for a lot of you guys, stay away from listing all the high school experience. Unless you really need it to kind of, fill your page. Don't put your high school where you went to high school. I think Jen did that. If you look at Jen's, she went to high school here, and then, sports. She was a high school boxing club, and this, that, and the other. High school cross country. Now, again, if you've not been in college and you have the room on your resume, list that stuff because at least it shows that you've been a competitive athlete. And maybe I'm hiring somebody to be cross country. However, if you want to list the highest level which you achieve. So if you played professional football, you may or may not include the college. If you're going for a college job, I probably would. But if you only played college, let's say like Josh played at the University of Louisville, all right. But then he listed, that he was a team captain on Berry and Collier, at Berry and Collier. I don't need to know that. I know that he was probably a pretty good high school football player to know that he went to University of Louisville, in which he went to he played in 4 bowl games. Pretty significant. So I don't need to necessarily know where he went to high school or what he did there. So, and again, here's a guy that went to 2 BCS bowl games at Louisville and was a pretty good player there, and it's barely mentioned on his resume, So something that Josh, has improved since he went through this presentation, but something to think about. Okay, honors. Most people list honors all over the resume, and it's good to list, and you want to list as many as you can. But at the same time, there comes a point where it's just overkill. So um, let's see if we can find a good example. Let's take down Josh's here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, honors and awards, um, special mention, all state, all Northwest, all conference. Now, if you're all state, I know you were probably all conference, so I don't necessarily need that. Um, the different things here. I don't need 3 bullets or 2 bullets on a student athlete award. So again, you're trying to cut it down to 1 page. This is the type of stuff that needs to go away. Um, and just something to think about. So format, you want to put the honor and then the year, and really kind of go with the highest level of each. Again, if you look at mine, look at honors here. I was a National Association of Sport PE Major of the Year. That was a pretty significant award. Now, I could have listed it up with my education, but felt like that was better here since I was a distinguished graduate. I was an academic All-American 2 different years. And again, some of this stuff, I just had a box here that I'm trying to fill some stuff in. So, who's who, I can take that down pretty quick, All-American Scholar, obviously if I was an academic All-American, I was probably also an All-American Scholar. So some different things there that you could fill in, but you see the format, what the award was, and then the parentheses. Okay, when you're writing your bullets, very important that you keep them short, to the point, and you use action verbs, accomplished or administered or conducted, coordinated, some strong action verbs. But again, don't go over the top, don't miss, all of a sudden, you list, I'm an intern at Notre Dame and I administered programs for 17 sports. Well, the person that really did that was that director of strength and conditioning. You just assisted. And you probably didn't write any program. So you don't want to overstate that. I call that person up and I ask them, well, okay, what'd they do? Well, they wiped bench pads and they filled the water cooler. I don't know if I can trust you. So be very, use action verbs, but be very vanilla or secure with what you're stating, what you did in those positions. All right, and then now lastly with references. Now, references, the format you want to take is you want to put the name, their current organization, their contact information, the best phone number, and the email address. Now, don't people that you don't have, the best way to get a hold of them and their current email address. If you're just kind of listing people just to list people and they don't really know who you are and you don't really have this information, I don't want to go digging for it, and I'm not going to go digging for it. So, important that you just list who they are, and talk to them ahead of time and make sure that they give you the best information, or that they can give you contact information, and then make sure that they're going to answer their phone when those people call. A lot of people don't answer their phone when they see a number they don't recognize, and then they forget to call them back, and all of a sudden you're hanging in the balance there. So. Make sure you have that stuff. Some key suggestions. Know what they're going to say. There's a lot of, at South Florida, I've had 10 years worth of intern classes, 3 intern classes a semester or a year. So 30 intern classes. And I've had a lot of interns. We just had 16 interns this last summer. A lot of interns gone through our program. And a lot of people list me as a reference, and I get a lot of calls, but they don't always know, and they don't always ask me what I'm going to say. Now, for me, I'm never going to hurt somebody, but I'm not always going to go over the top and for somebody either. So I tell our interns they get earned recommendations. but very important that you know what they're going to say. If I call somebody right away and say, yeah, so and so listed they're assistant strength coach for you, well, they were just an intern. All right. Well, not right away. I'm questioning whether or not I can trust you, if you're going to overstep your bounds here, all those types of things. So very important that you know that. Only have references to speak what is on your strength and conditioning resume. Don't put the local chaplain or your professor or something like that. I mean, I want to know people that have some sort of strength and conditioning connection to you. Also, very important to know that I'm going to look through, and this is something that when we're hiring, I have my staff call around, and one of the things I have them do is I'll go through your resume, and if you're a resume that I've pulled out, I'll have them go through a list of references, and then like Josh, this is something I told Josh. Pulled his up. He's got his references here. Now, this is just an oversight on his part, but Josh played at the University of Louisville. Now, Bobby Petrino was his head coach, was an NFL head coach, and somebody that's respected in the coaching circle. He's missing from his recommendations. Now I know he played at Louisville by looking at his resume. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to, one of the things that we do is we find at least one reference that's not listed that should be listed and call that person and chase them down. So I'm going to call Bobby Petrino, try to get a hold of him and find out, okay, what do you really think of Josh here? Now, once we've had this conversation, Josh put him on his reference list because he realized, hey, that's a pretty good guy to have on his reference list. But same time, he was missing right away. Now, maybe Josh, this is not the case with him, but maybe he left him off because they didn't get along. So I called Bobby Petrino. He says, well, he was a schmuck. He didn't work hard, this, that, and the other. That's a big knock. So, be careful. List people that are on your resume. And that's why, if you go back again to, my resume, I'm always listing the supervisor. Supervisor, the AD, and the head football coach at the time. The head football coach, the head strength coach, the head strength coach. I'm listing who they are, and then over on my references match up with who my supervisors were, and then I've called all of them, made sure that I knew what they were going to say, and then if I applied for anything, it's been 10 plus years since I've applied for anything, but if I was to apply for something, I would call them and say you may get a call. So. That's the last suggestion here is make sure that you let them know when somebody may be calling. So that's basically in a nutshell how you should be going about writing your resume. Now, again, I don't pretend to say that this is the absolute best way to do it. I've seen a lot of different things, and different things work. However, if you, as an employer, these are the things that I look for, and hopefully some of that stuff made sense. Now, what I want to do, kind of before I let you go, is just kind of go through these other resumes, and just show you some of the things that I would look for as I walk through it here. All right. So if you look at Kyle's, now Kyle goes, Kurt Farrell, he goes by Kyle, his middle name. Right away, if I called him, he would correct me. It's to be honest with you, it messed me up the entire internship class because he went by Kyle, but I knew him as Kurt. So it was one of those things that it took a little bit for me to get going on. Good objective. I think his education here could have been listed out a little bit clearer. He could definitely take out this related coursework. I mean, if I know that you are exercise science major, I know that you took phys and cardiovascular endurance and body weight and composition and some sort of fitness management. You're also kind of shooting me for a loop here with, you've got some related coursework in business management. I would definitely, and he's done all this, and these guys have all made these changes, but, obviously this right now would be his USF strength and conditioning experience, and that would be it. Awards, activities, professional memberships would obviously be moved. Professional memberships would be listed up here. Certification or education. Replace this with certifications and put the ones that he should be working towards right now, and he is. And then technology skills. I would definitely, if you could keep it, keep it. If not, get rid of it. But he's got his down to one page, which is half the battle. But he definitely could do a little bit better with that. Let's save Garth, actually. I want to save Garth for last year. Jen's a sophomore in college, so she's got some phenomenal experience already as a sophomore in college. But again, I don't need all of the classes that she's taken. She can lose the high school experience here. Now she would obviously add USF, but she could either break this down into 3 bullets, or she's getting enough experience now where she's worked for Pete Bommarito down in Miami. She's worked at University of Michigan football, University of Miami basketball, USF. She's got some experience there to where she can get rid of a lot of this and kind of list it more like mine. She obviously needs to move her certification up top, and she's got enough strength and conditioning experience to where she can put this stuff as related or get rid of it. Like this nutrition fitness teacher for a juvenile detention home. Great. It's something to definitely keep on her master resume, but could go away. And then all this other stuff, this member bodybuilding, member running club, high school boxing club, that type of stuff. Now, some of this stuff I would keep to show that she was an athlete, and she's a very, very athletic person. But she can get rid of some of that stuff. And then obviously her references would go on a separate page. I would not, probably for all you guys, I would list your references. But eventually you're going to want to keep your references off and on another page, because you may not always, you may be at a current position. And you don't necessarily want them to contact your references unless you're a real candidate for the job. So a lot of times I'll put, for mine, contact me for references, or references available upon request, or something along those lines, because I don't necessarily want them picking up the phone and calling our athletic director saying, hey, look, Ron McKeefery is applying for this job. Well, I don't know if I want the job. Maybe I'm just kind of, looking at it. So I'm trying to get more information. So we want to list that separately. So Jen's resume is pretty good. A lot of experience. She just needs to condense it down, and she's done that to one page. Josh talked about his recommendations. It would actually be references, not recommendations. All this stuff right here, skills and ability, leadership, I expect you to be a leader if you're applying. That needs to really kind of be changed over to his football experience. And all this management stuff, again, if you have room for it, it can pretty much go. So this whole page could really go and get him down to that one page. And then, he would divide this up. Work experience would be obviously University of South Florida. Related experience would be his experience at a performance center, his experience as a football coach at a high school. I would probably lose this University of Louisville compliance internship, marketing internship, and only put these coaches, clinics, and camps if you have room for it. So, obviously, all those resumes that I showed you, I would change the way they got their contact information. And not take up so much room. I mean, right there, again, that's quite a bit of room that he's taken up. And then lastly, we got Garth here. Garth, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on just because he wasn't here in that time. But, one of the things right away is when you see these template type of cells, it just, kind of looks not, kind of juvenile to some degree, that you just went on and you did some sort of a Microsoft Word template, and then you just kind of you kind of fell into just a template of how writing your experience, as opposed to you kind of manipulating it manipulated you. Obviously, I would take out his Perkins High School experience here, and I would spread this out a little bit more. Now, I like the way he's got his contact information. That's not bad. I just add his credentials at the top. Relevant experience, Again, obviously, he's missing his certifications. Um, he's got some decent, experience, but it's pretty much all related experience. Um, he's got some University of Toledo. He's an intern, so he could write that up in, it's an intern University of South Florida, intern Toledo, and then it's an internship at a sports performance facility in a high school here, assistant. He can change those things, but now he's got 4 bullets in each, and if you look at Garce again, 1 page, 2 page, and you just look at the formatting here on the 3rd page, he's listing it as a 2nd page. And I printed this off to get ready for this presentation, and I noticed that, and then it was one of those things I noticed it as being the 3rd page, and having to kind of try to put that together. It was one of those things that if I was printing this off for a job, it would have stood out as a negative. But now you look at it, he's got his relevant experience, he's got his extracurricular activities. Again, some good stuff. He played Bowling Green, he was Big Brothers, Big Sisters, good stuff. But he could list that a little bit differently. Honors and awards, again, good stuff, but highlight the best and condense that down. And then now you look at current employment. Okay, now he's wanting to be a strength coach, and he's a good coach. But you look at, okay, I'm a bartender at Ziggy Zumbas. I look, and then I'm a bartender at Kalari Water Park and Resort. This guy, here, just off a resume, I'm sitting there going, well, shoot, are you a kid or are you a professional? I don't necessarily need somebody that because they're only making X number of dollars as a GA strength coach that's bartending on the side, getting in fights or doing whatever else that would come with a bar atmosphere. So that would be concerning to me. Certifications way down here, definitely stuff that should be moved to the top. And then you look at relevant professional references. Some good guys. Aaron Hillman, great guy. Rick Court, great guy. Stuff that, those are some really good references and good to highlight, but he didn't make any mention to where they fit in up here. And if I didn't know that Aaron Hillman was at Bowling Green or Rick was at Toledo, then maybe I didn't make that connection. So, again, Garth could condense this down into 1 page pretty easily, and then if you condensed it down in 1 page, it would look like a pretty strong resume for him. So, just something to consider there. But I hope you guys, enjoyed the presentation. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things here as far as basic training. This is part of the networking module. But really what I wanted to do with this, and the reason why we started with it, is just to show you where you're currently at. This isn't something that, okay, all of a sudden you're going to redo your resume and then give it out and expect a job. And it's not going to happen. Like I said in the beginning, you're not just going to get hired off of a resume. You're going to get hired off of, it's the old adage of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. There's a lot of truth in that, especially in this business. And the networking part of it is extremely important as well. Now, that's all for naught if you don't have the credibility and the education to support it. But in this series, like I said, we're going to be going over lots of things. But this was just intended to kind of give you a snapshot of where you're currently at. What are some of the people that do the employing look for, and how can you build that and kind of have a master plan? So that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I look forward to your comments.